So Vaishalach again starts off with Yaakov making his way back home after 20 odd years, where he spent in Laban's house, running away from Esav. And now he's come back home, and he's very concerned that when he encounters Esav, it's not going to be good news. Esav going to come to kill him, which is an interesting thing. They hadn't seen each other in 20 years. They were brothers. They are brothers, and
twin brothers.
Twin brothers. And you don't get the sense that Yaakov is any less fearful 20 years later. You think that's a lot of water under the bridge. It's 20 years later. A lot's gone by. Why does he anticipate that Esav is going to have that same bloodthirsty desire to kill him as he did 20 years earlier? And from here you see something really a little frightening, actually, and that is that people don't change. People don't change. Now, that doesn't sit well with us because we're all about tshuva, we're all about improving ourselves. So I have to finish the sentence. People don't change unless they make an effort to change. You can go to a reunion, a high school reunion 20 years later, and the same class clown will be the same class clown, the same, right? Because if they're not making an effort to grow, they'll remain the same. And the Chazal tells us the word Esav, we know, because the word Asui. Asui means to be complete. Esav viewed himself as complete. I'm done. There's no need for me to grow. He wasn't given to introspection. He wasn't given to growth. And therefore Yaakov fully anticipated that the exact same person he had left 20 years earlier is going to be the exact same person that he's 20 years later. Frightening, but that's how people are sometimes. You can meet the same person. My brother-in-law told me once a great story that he was in New Hampshire. In the summertime, New Hampshire, in a place called Bethlehem. And those days, maybe Teddy also, I don't know, there was a hotel there that was populated by from Jews in the summertime. And it was like a factory, a minion factory. There was, Shachris, Minchamayr, people went on vacation. Anyway, so he went there with his family, and he was surprised. He met there Rev Kreisworth. Rev Kreisworth was the chief rabbi of Belgium, right? And he was a tremendous Talmid Chacham. Actually, I knew him as my Rosh Yeshiva many years ago in Eretz Yisrael. He had a photographic memory. When he spoke, you see he was like reading in the ear, like verbatim, word for word, every daf, every line in Gemara, just knew by heart. Anyway, so he sees her short cries. He's very honest. He goes up and says, Shalom Aleichem. My name is Shalom Francis. I want to say hello. Good. He said hello. Gives him a bracha. Whatever the case is. Fine. Next day, he gets up, my brother-in-law, and he sees Rekai is still there. He stayed a couple of days, very surprised, very happy. He goes up again, and he says to Rekai, oh, but I'm the same person that I introduced myself to yesterday. He goes, I hope you're not the same person that introduced yourself, right? Because every day we should hopefully try to change and improve. But it doesn't happen by itself. It doesn't happen not from one day to the next, and not even from 1 year to 20 years later, unless there's an effort being made. And Yaakov, and Esav's not making that effort, and therefore Yaakov fully anticipates that's going to happen. So what does he do? He prepares for this eventual battle. And Chazal, by the way, learned from this episode how Yaakov dealt with Esav is a proper way for the Jews to deal with the Romans. Later on, the Gemara tells us that they studied this as a blueprint. So, and today it's also true. When you're dealing with nations that need to get along, so there's always a two-pronged approach. There's a diplomacy branch, and then there's the threat of war branch. All right, we all know that you need both. Diplomacy is not going to work unless there's some threat that I can back it up. Right. On the other hand, we'd rather not go to war; we'd rather use diplomacy. But so the world uses both diplomacy. Hopefully, sometimes Russia doesn't revert to diplomacy; they just go for the war angle. But you should work diplomacy and battle in case. But we have a third prong, which is probably the most important part, which is tefillah. That Yaakov understood that diplomacy is not going to work. Mechama is not going to work unless there's tefillah, and that's his three-pronged approach. We'll see later on he davens as well as he prepares for battle. Now, what's his form of diplomacy? His diplomacy is not skillful negotiation. It's something that today we may not really want to do overtly, but we really do it, and it's called bribes. Right. He sends Esav gifts. Now, Esav doesn't think, hey, this is my birthday. I'm thrilled that Yaakov remembered 20 years later. This wasn't his birthday. But what's really fascinating is Esav was no dummy. When Yaakov sends him gifts, what is Esav thinking? Esav thinking, he's trying to bribe me. And you know what? It works. That is the incredible power of bribery, is that we're so self-delusional, we so much want to believe what we want to believe, that we can know we're being bribed, and it still makes us feel good. It's the ego. An employer that insists that employee address him a certain way and act a certain way, and he feels so good about it. Hello, he's going to get fired unless he acts that way, right? And yet you feel so good about it. Because the chanifa, we call flattery, and bribery, and appealing to the ego, it does wonders for us, even when we know it. Shmuel Kamenetsky once told me, we were talking once, and he mentioned this, I think he said it was an expression in Yiddish. He said, imagine if a farmer, set up scarecrows, scarecrows in a field, and each scarecrow he positioned in a salute, one after the other, like this. He said if the farmer did that like 6 of them in a row, and then he walked past, he'd feel good about it, right? It makes no sense, right? Scarecrows doing that. He said that is the koyach of the ego and flattery. In fact, chanifa is so powerful. It's so flattery. It's usher. You're not allowed to do that if you want to be manipulative. You can say nice things. You can be complimentary about an individual. But if you don't really mean it, you're just trying to get your way. It's so manipulative. It's gedevas das. It's literally, and it's so effective. The story about Chaim Shmulevitz, that as a young man, he was learning in Yerushalayim, and I think every Friday night, he and a number of budding Talmidei Chachamim, really big Talmidei Chachamim, young stars, so to speak, would congregate and meet in, and I'm trying to remember, the Rav of Yerushalayim. The Rav of Yerushalayim was home on Friday night, and they would talk over about the parsha, whatever. Anyway, somebody there said something like this, said over Dvar Torah or thought from Reb Chaim Brisker. Reb Chaim Brisker. So Reb Chaim Shmulevitz said, and then this Rav said, Reb Chaim zok sheina Torah. Reb Chaim says beautiful Torah. So Reb Chaim Shmulevitz said, I knew he didn't mean me, right? He meant Reb Chaim Brisker. I knew that everybody else knew that he didn't mean me. I knew that everybody else knew that I knew that he didn't mean me, and I still felt good. Right? Right? That's the power of Chanifa, the power of it, and that's what Yaakov does to Esav. When a person has an ego, as Esav, as big as Esav, you can do it boldly, and with everybody else as well. But that's the power of Chanifa, and we delude ourselves, and that's what happens over here. So, yes.
He also did it in a very interesting way. Waves of scribes.
Correct. He does them in waves.
It just kept building and building.
Yes, there's a lot to be said, and learn exactly how he did it. Absolutely true. I'm going to go further on them, and I'll come back depending on the time. So, we know he's going to meet up with Esav, and famous words when he davens, he's save me from my brother from Esav. That's his prayer in the famous Beis Halevi. I'm just going to mention in one word because it bears repeating. He says, save me from my brother from Esav. And Yaakov only had one brother. So he could have said to Hashem, save my brother, or save from Esav. Why do you have to say, save me from my brother from Esav? So this is a well-known idea from the Beis Halevi, that Yaakov was concerned that Esav can kill him two ways. He can kill him, or he can have him assimilate till Yaakov no longer exists. And in fact, Yaakov understood correctly that in the end, the assimilation threat will be far more dangerous than the threat of killing. And he says, Hatzileni miyad achi miyad Esav. Save me from my brother, which means when he acts like my brother, so we're all brothers, right? The Christians say we're all brothers. And that threat could be, in fact, more insidious and more dangerous than miyad Esav. Hatzileni miyad achi miyad Esav. Okay. Just a little further, when Yaakov was going to meet Esav, but on the way to meet Esav, he first chances upon the Sar Shel Esav, the angel of Esav. And I'd like to just look at these psukim inside for a few moments. If you take a look on page 174, all right, it's Perek Lamed Beis. Let's see Perek Lamed Beis, Pasuk Chav Gimel. Ever got that? Lamed Beis Chav Gimel, ever got that? Yeah, you with me, guys? Vayokam Balayla. And Yaakov got up that night. Vayikach shtei noshav. He took his two wives, Veshtei Shevchosef, and his two handmaids, Ves Achar Asi Ladav, and his 11 children. Vayavar es Mavar Yabak, and they crossed the river Yabok. And Rashi asks, V'dina hechanoisa. What it says, he took his 11 children. There were 12. He had 11 sons. Binyamin wasn't born yet, but he had Dina. So why does he took 11 children? So Rashi says, Nosna b'teva v'nal b'faneh. He put her in a box and he closed her up. Shalitim ba Esav Einav, so Esav should not see her. Why? Well, lekach nenash Yaakov. Rather than Yaakov was punished, shemona me'achav, that he held him back from his brother. Shemet tachsiren lemutav, that she could have perhaps turned him around. So first, this I just get out of the way, so to speak. Does Yaakov have to put Dinah in front of Esav and have her marry Esav? Does he have to subject to that? He has every right to protect her as his daughter. What it means is he at least should have felt slightly remorseful or sad. What a shame I can't have Dinah marry Esav. I can't because I can't take that chance. But there was not even that tinge of something could have happened here, and that's what he's held responsible for.
It's not Erva, is it?
What?
It's not Erva.
It's not ever, no.
Okay.
No. So you can marry a niece, right? So goes like this. It's a staggering question. Well, Esav could have turned. Dinah could have turned Esav around. Who was Esav's grandfather? Avram. Who was his father? Yitzhak. Who was his brother? Yaakov. You're talking about an all-star lineup, right? You're not going to get a holier family than Avram and Yaakov, right? Not getting holier than that. So, and they couldn't do a diddly squat with it. They couldn't do anything, right? And Dinah could have turned him around. So once, many years ago, about maybe 25 years ago, maybe more. So the principal of my school at the time had decided he wanted to give us all teacher training and sent us to Baltimore where there was going to be a whole seminar on teacher training. And he warned me because he knew that I really wasn't interested in stuff. I found it usually not very helpful. He warned me. He said, "Listen, see, I'm telling you right now, you better go and you better go to the classes." So okay, I go to Baltimore, and there's a menu of classes to choose from. So one of the classes was how to make your classroom more exciting. I figured that's helpful. So I go to the classroom, sit down. After 5 minutes, boring. The class, I just couldn't take it. I was like, I got it on my mind. After 10 minutes, we're like any student, I got to go to the bathroom, right? I pack out. So now I can't wander the halls because the principal is prowling to make sure that everyone's in the class. So I duck into another room. I open the door, and it's the big base medrash, the auditorium rather, and Rav Yaakov Rudim Zatzal, the Rosh Yeshiva of Ner Yisrael, was addressing 250 women teachers. Now, I really didn't belong there, right? Mm-hmm. But I also figured he's going to say something worth listening to. So I'm staying here till they throw me out. Do me something. So I stand by the door, and I'm getting a couple of steers and a couple more steers. And Rav Yaakov Rudim, as I walked in, asked this question that I just posed to you. He said, how is that possible? That Dinah could have turned Yaakov around, where Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov couldn't? And he responded very simply, that's the power of a wife. So what a wife can do is far greater for a man than anybody else, than what obviously I could do. Right? And then I got more steers from everybody else, and I had to pack out, but it was well worth it just for that piece. I saw a story actually not too long, a little while back. I think it was a senator from Texas, was driving with his wife someplace in Texas, and they stopped off for gas. Anyway, the attendant pumps the gas, and the wife starts giggling a little bit. And he says, "What are you giggling?" She says, "No, nothing." He says, "Why are you giggling?" And she sees he keeps looking at the gas attendant. She says, "You know this guy?" She goes, "Yeah." She says, "You know this guy?" "Well, how do you know?" She finally goes, "Well, I dated him." So he starts laughing. He says, "You lucky you married me. You could have married this guy and been the wife of a gas attendant." She goes, "No. If I would have married him, he would have been the senator." Right?
Very good.
So that's the koyach of a wife. That's the koyach of a wife. So that's what Dinah could have done. Okay, so I think we addressed this last time when we discussed the fact that it says he took his 11 children over, and Rashi says the 12th one was Dinah hid in the box. So we asked the question. I think we asked this question. My daughter asked me this when she was 5 years old. Very clever question. She said, "I don't get it. He still took 12 children over the river. One was in a box, hidden from view. By the way, it doesn't mean literally a box. It means hidden from view, right? But why does the Torah only tell us 11 when there was 12? So I explained to you last time that this is the decisive factor between what makes it into the Torah Ksav, what makes it into oral law, and what makes it into written law. Torah Ksav, the written law, are only discussed things that are observable to the naked eye, so to speak. That which is not observable is not discussed. Therefore, there's no discussion. There's no discussion of Olam Haba, Neshamis, right? It's only in Torah Peh you have this conversation. So here, Dinah was not observable to the naked eye, so to speak. She was hidden. Therefore, it's not mentioned, so to speak, in the Torah Ksav. And that's a very important feature to understand in general. How do you understand the division between Torah Ksav and Torah Peh? Okay, so now they cross the river. Vayivasa Yaakov levadoi. So Pasuk Chafei says, Vayivasa Yaakov remained alone. Now Chazal see this also as a tremendous praise to Avram. Because we say Hashem also, Ki niskav Hashem levadoi. Hashem is alone. What is Hashem alone? Alone doesn't mean he's lonely. Alone means he's independent. That he doesn't need others to create his existence. God doesn't need us to exist. We need him to exist. When we say Vayivaser Yaakov Levada, it was the ultimate compliment that Yaakov and eventually the nation of Yisrael can remain alone, that we can exist without anybody else. We don't need to be dependent on anybody else. And in fact, we sometimes live in a world that's almost opposite of everything that we do. So Yivaser Yaakov Levada, Yaakov remained alone. And why was he alone? Chazal tell us that he went back. He had forgotten pachim ketanim. There was certain little, Rashi says, shachach pachim ketanim. He forgot little jugs. Pachim, jugs, ketanim. Small jugs. So actually, the Ben Machai learns actually it's baby bottles. Pachim, shel ketanim. It was little baby bottles. He had 11 children. He had a lot of baby bottles. A lot of diapers also probably. But pachim ketanim. V'chazar aleihem. And he went back to get those pachim ketanim. And that's when he found himself alone with the Sashalei. So in fact, it was because of his alone that the Sashalei pounced on him. Because we know that when you travel alone, you're vulnerable. That's why you should travel at night. You shouldn't travel alone. You should have somebody accompanying you. For whatever reason, Sheidim, Malachim, Mazikim, whatever it is. But you shouldn't travel alone if you don't have to. And here Yaakov set himself up, so to speak, by going back for these Pachim Tanim alone. And that's when the Sashalei attacks. Why do you go back for these Pachim Tanim? They're pachim tanim. Exactly means the small little jars, insignificant. That's what they really are. Yaakov was a fabulously wealthy person. Why is he going back for them? Yeah.
No waste.
No waste. Absolutely.
Rabbi Leitag has an interesting interpretation. He said he went alone so that he would be the one to fight Esau. And protect his family because
could be.
Behind him.
All right, interesting. That's interesting idea. But why would he go back? So you're right, no waste. Certainly that's true. We live in a country where we're so wasteful and terribly wasteful. I remember I used to study Chavrusa with somebody who was a number of years my senior. We studied Friday nights in his home. I used to walk to his house Friday night. We'd learn. So I got there a little bit early. They were still in the middle of the Suda, and then I helped them clean up. So they had this plastic tablecloth, so you clean up. So I saw there was a couple of plastic cups on the table that hadn't been used. So I started collecting them. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm collecting these cups." He said, "What are you talking about? It's like 2 cents. We just rolled the whole thing up." And he didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know what he was talking about. He thought I was crazy. I thought he was crazy. Now, I'm a child of Holocaust survivors, so certainly it was ingrained in me. You just don't waste. But that's on one level. You don't waste, and that's true. You should, but more than that, it's appreciate what you have. And not more appreciate what you have. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent it to you, it's there for a reason. You can't be callous. These are your kelim. Everyone's given kelim, vessels and vehicles, literally and not literally, by which he's supposed to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And for him to be callous and say, it's okay, is dismissing that which Hashem sent to him to use. But also, every one of these kelim, he worked in Lavan's house, the most dishonest person, and yet he kept his integrity the entire time. Every single one of these kelim was a trophy, if you will, that reminded him of his avodas Hashem. When Yaakov lived in Lavan's house for 20 years, that wasn't downtime where he was like, he's not learning Torah, so he kind of wasted 20 years of pause in his life. No, he was learning an avoda of being in the world and remaining with integrity despite the world around you being not having integrity. And so everything he earned was a trophy, not as a badge he wanted to show off, but he understood that each thing symbolized his emunah Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's part of his avoda. He's not throwing it away. So he goes back for these pachim tanim, and then we say the Sar Shel Esav, the Mal Shel Esav attacks him. Right? And let's read the pasuk. Vayivayik ish imayim, and a man struggles with him. Now it's not a man; it's a malach. And almost everybody learns it's a malach. I think the Rashbam takes it literally. It does say ish, which others learn ish has the same word as eish, fire, so it's angel of fire. Adalos shachar, and they do battle till los shachar. I want to read the next pasuk too. Vayaki lo yachaloi, and the angel saw they could not defeat him. Vayiga b'kav yerech, and therefore hits him on the side of his thigh, which is like the sciatic nerve, the giranasha. Vateka kaf yerech Yaakov, and he displaces the yerech of Yaakov. Be'av imay, when he struggles with him. Next pasuk, Vayomer shalcheni, and Yaakov the man said, the Malach the man send me ki olah shachar, because it's ready time, it's sunrise already. Vayomer la shachar, I'm not sending you away until you bless me. All right. We'll come back to the next part of the Pesukim later on. So the man struggles with him at Alos HaShachar, which again, Alos HaShachar is symbolic of, well, obviously till the end of time, that the Yaakov will struggle with the Satan, that we will struggle with evil forces, with satanic forces, with forces of Yetzer Hara, with forces of temptation. It's going to go on till Alos HaShachar. It's a struggle. Vayar ki lo yachalo. But when he saw, when the angel saw he could not defeat him, Vayiga b'kaf yirecha, he hit him in his thigh. Now, why the thigh? So Ramban talks about, so actually, I'm sorry, it's a Zayar that says that the thigh represents the support. The thigh supports the body. And the Satan saw he can't defeat the ruchnius of Yaakov. But you know what? If he gets to the support of Yaakov, the people that supposed to support institutions and yeshivas and Torah, if he gets them to be, cheap and not be able to support, then he could defeat Yaakov. So he doesn't go for Yaakov himself, but he goes for the support system. But I want you to share with you one thought, and I know we got to dive Myra, and we'll continue afterwards. And that is that, when they were battling over here, this is not a battle, a wrestling match like you see WWF, right? These two fighters slugging it out. Which, by the way, when I was a kid, so when I went to, there was a camp in the summertime I went to, there was a hotel like a mile down the road where it was for older folk, for European Holocaust survivors, but a lot of people there. They loved wrestling. You see these really chashiv Yidden Saturday, Matzah Shabbos, watching wrestling. And I couldn't figure out why they loved wrestling so much. And one he says, you don't stand. Coming from the war, to watch two goyim beat each other up was like, wow! It was like, that was Gan Eden for him. It was Gan Eden. Anyway, Kitzur Maisa. Truth is that when this wrestling match was not a physical wrestling match. It was a war of ideas. It was a war of ideas. Yaakov was presenting spirituality. The Tsar is trying to undermine that. It's a war of ideas. You know what happens in a war of ideas? Let's say I'm debating you about something. We're arguing about something. And you say your thing, I say mine, and we keep back. And you get so upset you hit me. Right? The hitting me is the biggest proof that you couldn't defeat. You couldn't convince me. The hit is the biggest signal. Right? When Esav hits Yaakov, that's the Tsar, that means I couldn't get to you. That's the hitting is the biggest proof. But more than that, in our own lives, think about it sometimes, whether it's with a friend or certainly with a spouse, we get into this war with them. We get into arguments. And when we can't win the argument, what do? We hit below the belt. We say things, oh, your mother, but mother has nothing to do with it, right? And you bring in, you hit below the belt. That's not where you're supposed to go. In the war of ideas, you stay with ideas. Once you go, hit below the belt, and start saying things in personal insults, and you bring back, oh, you always did this, and you did this last time, anytime you do anything like that, you're not winning the war. That's the biggest proof that you've lost. But you don't want to go there. The Malach Esav goes there, and he hits below the belt, so to speak, because he knows he can't win this war of ideas. And ourselves, when we engage with other people, if we're not able to make the winning conversation, but we certainly shouldn't go that route. We shouldn't try to go and try to take that person down with things that are kind of below the belt and insulting and bringing things in that really don't belong into the conversation, which is, let's focus on the merits of this discussion, not anything else. We'll stop here, we'll pick it up after my